Hi, I'm Devi Datta Dash, founder and CEO of Lemmy Bee, and here we have on our next episode a fantastic person named Ranjit. And Ranjit is going to introduce himself. Ranjit, please tell us about yourself.
Hi, Devi. I think we know each other for some time now, and it's great to be here first. Thank you for inviting me to a podcast that it took a lot of sort of makeup to, mental makeup to sort of come on board, but I love talking to you. So I am here. I am Ranjit. I run a marketing agency with about 300 people, but most importantly, I've seen quite a bit in my life. Okay, people tell me I'm a survivor. I don't think I'm a survivor per se. There are a lot of people in the world that who are survivor. But I did fight cancer. I did sort of. I was born in Bihar, and there was I think upbringing makes a person. And in Bihar, while I was growing up, it was 90s Bihar, so I did learn some life skills during those time, and I applied in my life. Here I am in front of you, managing about a 300 people company, worked for about 22 years, and a cancer survivor. So that's the gist I have. I am a married person with two kids and a wife, and and in front of you, I'm
Just one wife.
yes, yes.
Great, great. It must be a great roller coaster because growing a business, managing a business, ensuring that the business makes profit, it must be a great journey. So tell us a bit about your journey as an entrepreneur.
It's painful journey, so to say.
Yeah.
Like you being an entrepreneur, you would know it's so painful at times, but the quest to remain committed to your creation is something that has probably the driving force. And thankfully, I have a great co-founder in Swati who helped in all realms of running a business. We started with two-person and three cancers among both the co-founders. My co-founders' parents, both the parents got cancer within a year of starting up. I was a cancer patient, but I think the most part in terms of running the business is, I would say, it's tougher than fighting a cancer.
Wow.
And yeah, running a business is tougher than fighting a cancer because you fought cancer and it's just behind you. Here, every day you have to fight stuff, and not fight stuff in the sense that fight with the situation. Really, sometime you have to think about how do you, uh, grow the business. Sometime you have stuff in the business that puts you down. Sometimes you have self doubt, all that. So in the sense of entrepreneurship, I think one of the key thing that I think is that as long as you show up every day, I think you are moving.
Yeah.
That has been my experience. What has been yours? I mean, how you've
Same.
been an entrepreneur? Yeah.
No, no, same. The journey has been a roller coaster. Like it has been a roller coaster ride. There are days of self doubt. There is imposter syndrome. There are a few days when you feel that whatever you are doing is just not worth it. And at days you feel so elated and happy about the success and the recognition which you receive that it is amazing. It's a great feeling. So yeah, the good and bad days are forever haunting and forever changing the life trajectory. So, as we are venturing into sexual wellness as a category, I'm more and more curious to understand different perspective around sex. So, as we say this word sex, there is a lot of taboo and hush hush attached to it. So, why do you think, as a marketer, why is sex a taboo?
See, look, I am a student of history from interest perspective. I think till about 200 years back, sex was not a taboo. Like we were talking that you are from Orissa and I've been to Konark Temple. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful temple.
Yeah.
And probably you can talk later about what is the concept of Konark Temple, why it is so much of sex, so to say, it's on the walls of Konark Temple and Khajuraho and elsewhere. But to my mind, I think making sex taboo is somewhere patriarchal.
Okay.
Now I am not here talking about the whole concept of patriarchy here, but what I think is that probably when we about since 200 years back, when we had more population, we had other rulers coming up, and so on and so forth. What I think is that men wanted to protect their own sex life,
Okay.
and thus they projected a image that women cannot dress the way that they can dress. I mean, let's take for example today, you know, when a Malaika wears whatever she wants to wear, she's been termed as a hot actress and something like a, probably, I don't know if people treat her like a characterless and things like that, or any woman for that matter. But when John Abraham goes on and sort of shows off his
Shirtless.
shirtless, oh my God, he's macho and he's all that.
But
So the
women call him sexy.
of course, yes, yeah, yeah. But so I'm saying, but the what is the popular persona that
Correct, correct.
that
He's a
he's
macho.
cool and I mean, so I think somewhere in my mind, making sex a taboo, it's the age-old, probably the configuration of, say, I mean, religious and culture and the objectification of women, which has made sex a taboo subject to my mind. We were not, sex was not a taboo subject, say about 2 to 50 years back. We have seen paintings from Mughal era. It sort of talks a lot. We know about Kama Sutra. We
Yeah.
know about the sort of ancient India, and we are a very open society. Sex
Yeah.
is not a taboo, but it's the objectification of women somewhere has termed it like, and sex equates to probably somewhere, I mean, women, and it's, when you just think about sex, what does it think? I mean, do you think about the penetrative part of sex, or do you think about the sexual desire? Somewhere, I think, to my mind, when you talk about sex being a taboo, you think about that women should not dress in a certain way. We should not talk about women in sex, like sex for women. Sex for men,
It's not a taboo, you
it's
say.
not a taboo as much as sex for women is a taboo.
No, as you mentioned, like in Konark, like the way they have portrayed sex, it is very similar to going to work, waking up in the morning. Also, sex is a part of that 24 hours of living. So it has never been considered as a taboo. And yes, of course, as we are becoming more and more modern, sex has become a taboo.
Yeah.
But hey, you mentioned that you have two daughters.
Yes.
So when was the first time, like tell us a bit about your daughters and tell us that when was the first time you had a conversation where it involved this word sex?
So I have a 15-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. And while a large part of conversation, I must tell you, I was very hesitant to have with my daughters, and probably I'm still slightly hesitant. But over the years, I guess the most important part is that it's the daughters who have come up and sort of talked about it, whether their their upbringing and how. But I think the most important turnaround is probably when my elder one was going to her boarding, and we had a conversation about, she was 15 when she was going, and we had a conversation about the life beyond sort of family supervision and how to sort of operate in a environment which is not supervised by parents,
Yeah.
what to take care when, probably one of the conditions that I had put on my daughters, that you can't have a boyfriend before you are 16.
Okay.
Only that I was so protective about, though it may not make sense in sort of current context, but being a protective dad, I thought that probably she should wait a year more to have a boyfriend.
Okay.
So yes, we did talk about it. We did talk about uh, uh, probably that she has to wait till 18 to sort of do any experimentation in her own life and things like that. And probably every parent thinks like, but I think, I tell you, the revelation is this, that kids today are much more responsible than we as parents think that they are.
Yeah.
Okay. They know their stuff, they know their limits, they know what is
Boundaries,
right,
right.
they know what is wrong. And probably the whole advent of marketing and brands like yours, which is teaching the right thing, which is very, very important. I think you also talk a lot about the the education aspect of sexual wellness, which is far more important. I mean, I'm telling you that when I was growing up, the thing that I learned sex was from porn. Okay,
Yeah.
and in our time, that's the only way to educate, or you know, magazines like Dafa 302 and all such
Women's
stuff.
era.
Women's era, we used to look for the sexual column.
Yeah, yeah. Agony
Yeah,
aunts. Yeah.
okay. So I think that was the and then there was this Mastaram, which actually became a movie later. I mean, Mastaram used to be this pornographic novel. Okay, I mean pornographic sort of magazine, which taught sex to us. I mean,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
generation. So I think it's much better today. Probably brands like yours and the whole brands in this space has. I know I must congratulate them that they are bringing an awareness, and they're bringing a right awareness through their products, through their services, and that's the need of the hour, really.
For sure. As in earlier days, I would go and sneak into my grandmother, like my nani, her novels, Hindi novels, and I would read couple of those pages where they talk about like love making, and that was the information available regarding sex, because internet was of course not all that accessible early on in late 1990s, 2000s. So yeah. So what is the age when you introduced condoms to your daughter? Like, have you ever spoken about safe sex or condoms or protection or maybe sexually transmitted diseases? Because these are very important topic as a parent. I'm sure this is something which a kid must learn.
So I think that one of the important thing I think that kids should learn today is an external environment, which is probably being a digital age may not be as safe as probably one
Lot of
may
information.
imagine. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah. Too
information,
many
and
information.
probably a lot of bullying and a lot of those aspects. So every parent like me, like I have done also, we have taught our kids that what is safe, what is not safe, how to sort of deal with an external environment, what is the right age to sort of think about intimacy and so on and so forth. And most kids today are really, really receptive about that message. They want to learn about it. They want to understand. Thankfully, my father-in-law is a doctor. My brother-in-law is a doctor. So much before I could teach them anything, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, who has been a doctor, my kids have been learning from them
Okay.
about the whole biology of the human ecosystem, right?
Correct,
But I
correct.
think, what, to my mind, one of the key part is that while you and I might be at some education level where we know and we are aware, it's probably the hinterland, it's probably the economic strata of society where a lot of this education has to seep in. And I think, to my mind, initiatives today like education through Instagram. I follow a lot of pages which are education pages for my kids, for people around, and I learn and I wish that these channels were available when I was 16,
Younger.
17, 18. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So sexual wellness is not just about performing the act of sex. It is also about self image, desirability. How do you feel, like how desirable you feel and how other person perceives you, your self confidence. So what is your take on that?
So look, till about age 20, I thought myself that I'm a ugliest looking person, ugliest looking man. I had a lot of self doubt about my looks and my image and so on.
I'm sure all the teenagers have a similar doubt.
Yes, yes, but it is so misplaced that uh, we have a very false impression of beauty and probably handsomeness for men. But when I went to an IFT, I was very underwhelmed. I went to an IFT Hyderabad, where you also have lived. When I went there, I could sense that probably the thought process got sort of expanded, and I realized that I'm handsome. I had I mean, lot of opposite sex who
Were
thought that
attracted.
I am handsome, who were attracted. And to my mind, it was such a misplaced notion.
Hmm.
And the perception of beauty or perception of how a person looks is very convoluted in our society,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And that's probably today now it's much lesser, I guess, as compared to previous times. But probably what has happened today is that the perception of beauty is transcended from Instagram reels and Instagram content, which is polished and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So the problem are still there. It's just the nature. Earlier, you would get a self-doubt when your friends or your family says that how you look or how you act or how you behave. But today, it's Instagram is actually showing you or some sort of way. But to my mind, today probably we are also teaching our next generation that it's okay to have pimples. There are brands and there are people, I mean, who are doing that. It's okay to have pimples. It's okay to have your hair a certain way. It's okay to be dark complexion. Then probably dark complexion are much more sort of
Attractive. Yeah. Yeah.
attractive. I mean, that it looks like today. I think, I mean, one of the my favorite actresses used to be Smita Patil. I was probably I had a deep crush on her. I mean, she died unfortunately, but I have watched all her movies. From so I think that the most important part is that what persona it is. For me, it has been an easy journey with friends and family and my kids, but that may not be true for everyone. And we together have to fight in a brand like yours. I mean, you tell me, I mean, Devi, how do you think that a brand like yours can sort of help this?
Through open conversation, this word sex possibly sounds like a taboo today, but if we have this safe place where we can discuss with, say, with our family or with our close pals or with friends, or maybe find the right amount of information through various channels, like now we will be posting a lot of things about sex and how do we manage our libido, or how do we manage sex, or maybe we are introducing now massagers where you can take charge of your own pleasure. We don't really always need a partner, or with or without a partner we can take charge of our bodies, and one orgasm a day can possibly help you manage your weight better. It gives you glowing skin. There's so many benefits. But we just had a counselor who she spoke about how serotonin gets released and it gives you better sleep. So many benefits. And why should we just consider it as a taboo when so many good things are attached to this taboo? Maybe there has to be a safe place for even younger audience with their parents. They should have this conversation. Parents should be more aware on how do we interact with a child so that they don't feel the whole uncomfortable scenario at their home. So yeah, possibly it is step one. So we will go through the 0 to 1 journey with our audience and see how they are experiencing and taking charge of their pleasure. So okay, lot about sex now, but now let's talk about sex and middle ages, because as we grow older, there is so much of stress in life. There are so many lifestyle disorders, PCOS, PCOD, endometriosis, diabetes. The list is unending. Blood pressure, and of course stress, and then you've also combated cancer. So after so many challenges and issues and running a company, I mean, how do you even find time for your self pleasure, or some pleasure for your wife and some time for sex?
Okay. I think probably the popular connotation of this is when I have stress, I drink. Okay. I go and have a
So alcohol and sex, how does it go hand in hand?
I think alcohol and sex have never gone together hand in hand, to be honest. It is not advisable. And I think people should
Gen
realize
Z
that.
cohort do not believe that. Yeah, do not resort to drinking when there is
Exactly.
stress.
Please do not drink when you are stressed. It's everyone's coping mechanism. You go and have a beer. I'm sorry, not drinking, but just to kind of relax, maybe a glass of wine. That's
Yeah.
what my way of dealing stress. Sex and alcohol does not go together. I can tell you 100%. But one very important part is this. I think, and that's for everyone, so to say, to understand that you know a sexual pleasure is basically a liberating. It's a liberating feeling. I am just on behalf of men. I am taking this and I'm saying this. But most important part is this, that you should be in the right frame of mind. Consent is important. What is important is,
Consent. Yeah.
I think, and far more important is this, that uh, expression of desire, expression of love is completely normal. One should do that with their partners. Um, the most important part, I would say, is this: let's normalize this.
Normal.
And
Definitely.
I think, to my mind, probably I am quite open about talking about sex, like I am here on this podcast. But I think probably it's a duty of every man and woman to sort of normalize it. And I'm telling you today, in our conversation today, it's when we talk, probably it's not
That
raise
bigger
eyebrow
taboo.
that
Yeah, it is very. Yeah.
eyebrow when you have in probably one generation before or two generation before. So that has definitely changed. But I am of the opinion that stress is a enemy of a great sex. uh, how you cope up with stress is something up to each individual. If you want to see a therapist, go and see a therapist, but do work on your stress and do enjoy sex.
No, that is for sure. Like people who get into the act generally enjoy sex, but there is a lot of anxiety because looking when we say watch a porn, generally youngsters they end up when they search about sex they end up watching a porn, and then there is this unrealistic opinion about sex. I'm sure. How was your first experience? Like when you watch porn for the first time, and it must have like shook you. Ki, Arey baapre, how do I do this?
I had no clue what sex is. Okay. And I remember we were probably 17, 18, 19, and a bunch of friends hired a DVD, and we kind of, rented porn DVDs, and we watched porn. I'm like, okay, this is what sex is. This is how what is called a penetrative sex. This is what probably, penis enters a vagina, and that is called sex. It was such a, untalked. No one was talking about it, as I said. So my first lessons of sex were from porn, and that was such so harmful because the sort of expectation you set
For
of
yourself.
sex is so unrealistic. Probably if the actual sex is not even probably 1/100th of what you see in porn, right? So that is wrong, stuff and wrong impression of sex. The right impression of sex is that it's completely normal to not be in a performance anxiety, and probably you don't have to perform. What matters is intimacy, so to say. What matters is intimacy. What matters is how your relationship is than probably how the actual sex is. And I'm sure that every woman is not expecting that every time they have sex, she should have orgasm. Okay, what she thinks is uh, that, I mean, there is intimacy, there is love, and the same goes for men. So I think, to my mind, I think what matters is the frequency of sex today. That many of men and women are probably not having sex for a long, long time because of stress, because of all the aspects around work, about family, raising kids, and so on and so forth. But most important part is that you have to take time out to think about sex and think about pleasure and think about companion. I mean, you are a gay couple, you are a lesbian couple, you are a trans couple. It's completely all right. But what is important that you look at your partner and then sort of be talk about sex, that what sex means for the couple, and then work it out. I mean, that's the
Correct,
important
correct. But as a brand, we want our consumers to take charge of their pleasure. So it is not always with the partner. Sometimes it could be without a partner. There are a lot of single folks out there who can use one of the massagers or one of the products, or maybe figure out different ways to pleasure themselves. So what are your thoughts on masturbation? And why has masturbation, like, why is there so much of, hush hush about masturbation? Because it is your body. You can do whatever you want to your own body. You're not hurting yourself. You are ensuring that you get instant gratification. So, why do you think masturbation is like such a big
I
challenge?
guess the villains of this sort of a propagation of this articulation and culture is basically, if I can point rightly, is those khandani dawakhana kind of people who kind of projected an imagery of masturbation and self-pleasure and self-exploration of being a so bad thing, okay? While this is the safest form of sex, it's and for a lot many people, till they find a partner, it's the only way to have a safe way to have pleasure.
Pleasure, yeah, yeah.
It's far more important. So to my mind, and also it transcends whether you are I mean, you have a partner, you don't have a partner, probably a self pleasure is unsaid, but it is practiced by every individual on this earth,
Yeah.
whether the person is married or not, or whether the person have a partner or not. It's the most safest form of pleasure. Only thing is that we don't accept it, we don't talk about it,
We don't,
we
yeah.
don't talk about it. But it in your confines, it's not a taboo thing. We all know that masturbation is the most safest form. You talked about massager. To my mind, till the time I met you, it I used to think that uttering the word vibrator is probably
Prohibited.
prohibited. But then, I mean, we kept talking, and I'm like, what's wrong with the word vibrator?
Yeah.
There's nothing. I don't know the legality of that thing, but most importantly, that should be normalized. The most important thing is that self pleasure should be normalized.
Correct. So that it doesn't put so much of pressure on your partner.
Yes.
It doesn't put a lot of pressure on finding a partner. Also, you take charge of your own pleasure. It's just like mental peace. You can be
Yes.
single for rest of your life,
Yes.
which is not possibly not. It's not a good advice, but yeah.
Yeah. And also, you know what? To my mind, what I see is that in the sense that today a lot of people are not approaching sex from a experience perspective. That they may have had a bad experience. There are some traumas, of the past, and then they are since I am in the business of marketing, which is also research based, and we go to market, we talk to people, and it appears that a lot of times probably the products that you have, massager, is probably the right product, even though you can have partner, or you have partner, but somehow due to conditioning you are not comfortable with penetrative sex, right? And thus probably a massage
Makes
is
it
a great
easier.
product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What is your opinion about sex toys in the bedroom without a partner?
I guess it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a impeccable idea to have spice of your sex life.
Yeah.
And also spice of, I think to my mind, we have seen in movies. I'm a big movie fan, and I have seen in films that, and I have seen in life that the most important part is to have a healthy relationship, right? And one of the key thing about healthy relationship is to have good sex. you know we are human being, right? And human being have desires, and human being have sexual urge.
Yeah.
And it's very important to have to satisfy that sexual urge. And what best that you can probably experience through multiple ways that sexual urge, and probably sex toys, or we had done one research project where we saw that eatable lingeries was one of the highest selling products. It's so fascinating that eatable lingeries became a big product today. I think today BDSM, which was a subject, now are much more normalized. I follow a lot of people on social media who are helping normalize this. So I think it's very important that the sex toys are also seen just like in Iran. I wish there would be a time when a sex toy can no longer need discreet packaging.
Yeah. In fact, in the US right now, it is like the research suggests that 80% of women own at least one sex toy. And it is now retailing. So they don't, earlier it was only online. Now you can find them on Sephora.
Oh,
Definitely we are all evolving, and it is getting normalized. India possibly has a couple of more years to go. So tell us a bit more about your first sexual encounter and your experience in terms of how did you overcome your anxiety or your fear. Like, I'm sure everyone has some amount of anxiety when they approach someone for the first time. So what do you suggest that these young boys and girls, they call it a situationship, how do they approach their partners and how do they go about it?
I tell you, Devi, that today probably kids are much more, I guess, much more informed, and they talk more on the physical aspect of partnership than a mental, as good as a mental aspect, which is love and belonging and sex, right? But I think the most important part of olden days were that uh, even saying a girl "I love you" was a it took a lot to say because if you say someone "I love you," as if you're doing a crime.
Yeah. Now you're committed.
Now you're committed. You are doing a crime. How can you have premarital sex with someone, if you're not married yet, you're not allowed to have sex.
Yeah.
Which to my mind today is much more normalized.
Yeah.
Both men and women. We have seen probably stories of olden times and such regressive stories of virginity and sort of togetherness. I think in our society today, we no longer need to be virgin till uh,
At least the Gen Z, I believe, does not believe in the concept of virginity.
Yes.
But back in the days, virginity was a real thing.
Yes. So
Yeah.
to my mind, tell you experience that probably I shuddered to approach a girl, thinking that it's not culturally okay to approach a girl and ask for a date. And I grew up in Bihar, of course. So of course there was a society
But tell us a little bit more about your experience in NIFT. NIFT is a pretty great ecosystem, and you've learned so much.
I am so thankful that I landed up in NIFT, because it was one, for a Bihari boy, landing up in NIFT was a cultural shock, and thank God that I had a cultural shock when I landed up. I'm tell you very honestly, when I went to NIFT, the women who came and shook hands like, "Hi, I am this, I am that," and they shook hands. I'm like, how can women shake hands?
Okay.
Because back where I came from, there was probably proximity to girl or proximity to opposite sex was looked down upon, as if you talk to a girl or if you are with a girl, then you're characterless.
Okay.
Or such for, or you are that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Your paros wala, please don't talk to that guy or that girl, whatever it is. So I think to me the NIFT was a very different place, and I had great friendships. I wish I had approached sex back then to have great sex. I cannot.
Do you regret that?
I do regret that, of course. That I wish I was more open to have, but I I was in my elements. I had great fun, but most importantly, I learned about opposite sex. Okay, I learned how to approach them. I learned how to be in the same room comfortably, which was not the case that in the pre Nifter, and probably every person who came there from, I'm just saying from on behalf of a lot of small town boys and girls who came to NIFT or who went to colleges like that, education like that, they all had cultural shock, and
Yeah.
and for them all got normalized for life. So it's been great. I mean, learning around. You tell me, you have studied in Australia and you have been places. How do you see your experience while you are growing up and the education thereof?
Oh, so when I studied in Australia, I was already married for a couple of years, so that doesn't count. Really, I worked for about 10 years and then I went for my
For
higher studies, yeah. But yeah, even I came from Bhubaneswar, but my father was always like he was in a transferable job. So every 3 years we were in a new place. So it was always a new beginning. So when I came to Hyderabad, yes, for my engineering, definitely it was a great change. More openness, more freedom, because though I come from an extremely liberal family, and my mom used to work with Red Cross, so we used to do menstrual hygiene camps. I started doing menstrual hygiene camp when I was in standard 9, so there was no taboo in my house. But irrespective, sex was always a taboo
Yes.
because you are not allowed to have a boyfriend because of the repercussion it holds. That is because we were never taught about safe sex, or possibly what are the challenges which without proper education around sex, what are the challenges. So even though I come from a very liberal family, we did not really speak much about it. But yeah, I mean that I still believe that there was a different generation, and open conversation is absolutely necessary, because sex is not something we start talking about at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We actually think about it much younger, as what we have understood is like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old, and 10-year-old can also have these feeling of trying to understand their body, trying to figure out what this body part does, like what is the private part, why does it feel good, touching themselves is very common. So I guess now when we think about sex education, it should not happen when you are a teenager or when you are a adolescent or a grown up. It should happen much, much, much earlier, when we ask this question. Like when a young child asks their parent this question, that mom, where did I come from, the answer should start getting framed since then, so that in next 10 years they are 100% aware where he or she has come from.
Yeah.
Or maybe understanding their sexuality in terms of how do they feel internally, in terms of what do they feel about their gender, how do they feel sexually, are they asexual, they don't want to have sex, or are they sexually inclined towards men, women, trans, like whatever it is. They should be absolutely certain about it, and it is only the family and the ecosystem around you that can nurture you to become more and more confident about it. So I guess
So you went to engineering college, right?
yeah.
And engineering college has a very, very skewed gender ratio, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
And I went to a fashion college, which again is
Again, as this opposite.
it's the opposite gender
Yeah.
ratio. And I was feeling very, first few months, I was very, very shy, I mean, surrounded with women all around, where you also felt intimidated with so many men around, or I mean, or it was normalized in your.
No, so not in my engineering college, but 11th and 12th. So I was in Bhubaneswar for my 11th
I
and
love the
12th.
city.
It's a great city, but so the college I went to for 11th and 12th, instead of a school, I went to a college because my father used to study in that college. So my entire family has studied out of that college. So 11th and 12th, we were like 6 girls in a class of 256 people.
My God.
So yeah, there was a lot of attention. So we were showered with attention, which we did not. I mean, I did not get in my engineering. So I think that was a big shift, and I'm like, what happened suddenly? So
Yeah.
So yeah, but
All the boys came to NIFT. Because so many sort of girls and women there.
yeah. At least my engineering boys used to go to NIFT for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of competition from engineering.
All the engineering colleges around you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Ranjit, it was great talking to you. I think we should have a couple of more such these chats to talk more about opening up and open conversation around sex and sexual wellness and health and everything surrounding it. So thank you so much. Great
For
talking
sure.
to you.
Please do go to lemib.com, which is run by Devi. They have great products for sexual wellness, period care, and many such. Please do visit. It's a great product company. For last 4 years, they're running, and I'm sure that you'll have the products of your need and choice. Do visit lemib.com.